so.
Okay. I'd also like to know why the town clerk wasn't informed of this or included in any discussion for this resolution prior to tonight's meeting.
Well, when you
I
email the town clerk and she never gets back to you, it's hard to make connections with her.
That's not true, Ed. I usually get back to you. You
3 or
never
4
sent
weeks
any.
later.
You didn't send anything to me.
No, I
about
didn't.
this.
No, I didn't.
And I don't get back to you 3 or 4 weeks later.
I discussed it for like
Mary Ann,
on
I-
several occasions. I talked to her 3 or 4 times about it.
About the records, yeah.
About the auditor and them wanting to have the permanent records. We discussed it would be
Right.
just the permanent
And
records,
we
not
already talked about that last
records she's
meeting.
working with. It's
You
permanent records.
discussed the records being transferred from the clerk's office?
No, we talked about putting, Larry and I talked about putting permanent records.
Keeping the permanent records in the
Here.
vault.
That, and we talked about that actually on the last meeting.
Well, the resolution says it is necessary that all data of the town-owned computer of its possession and backup be kept here. And the town hall is a secure, okay, board supervisors ensure, and all
that-
records and data of the town library be moved to the town hall, and all the data owned on the computer be backed up. That's not your records that you're keeping, that you're currently working on, that's all of your records that Eddie wants
It's
here.
just supposed to be the permanent
Permanent
records.
records.
The permanent records. We discussed that.
Yeah.
Well, then the resolution needs to state that they're permanent records, not all records.
Amended. We can amend it.
Why can't all records be up here?
Because what would you like her to work on
She-
when people call her?
She needs to have the stuff she's working on. It's just the permanent records that I would like to see stored in the vault, permanent records.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a resolution. I thought we were creating one
No,
tonight.
we have a resolution. It was passed out here, just a simple resolution, but I would like to reiterate that it's for the permanent records.
And
So-
those records will be kept here, not anyplace
The
else.
vault.
And I want to clarify, you sent me that, Eddie, because I did not receive it.
No, I didn't send you that.
Okay.
Nor did I receive this prior to tonight's meeting.
I didn't send it to you either.
Well, why wouldn't you have sent it to the clerk so that the rest of the town board could
Because
review
I just
it?
finished doing it this week.
You just finished doing it this week meeting tonight or last week?
Friday.
Well, then you had time to send it to the clerk so that the rest of the board could have had it before tonight's meeting.
So it was really hard to read right now?
That doesn't matter. You request that all of the documents that we're going to discuss at the town meeting be presented to you prior to a meeting. The respect would be to give that to the same thing of things that you're creating.
I told Wendy that there was a resolution, there would be a resolution for
That there
this,
would
for
be.
the permanent records, and I said it was requested by the auditor to have backup, and I'm sure Wendy was gonna put the permanent records there anyhow, and
And
she's
we
gonna
talked
have,
about
and she's
that.
going to have the records backed up by a computer anyhow, but it was mentioned to me by the auditor that that should be a town policy, and so I told her that we were gonna have a resolution and we were gonna have it at the meeting to satisfy the
But
auditor.
then you made a decision on your own without board approval to do that. And it should have been discussed at a town board meeting prior to making the resolution.
Well,
That's my
I guess
concern.
I kind of thought that we were doing the resolution today, so I'm, you know.
Tom, you read the resolution, didn't you? Did you see the resolution?
I saw it tonight, yes.
Yeah,
I do have some questions on it.
okay.
When you're done.
What do you have? For
Done
questions?
discussing, you're addressing some of the issues that Supervisor Muth raised, or,
What questions do you have?
okay. Permanent records, all the records are permanent. They have to be retained for at least 7 years. So I don't know where that distinction would come in as far as keeping permanent records only in the town hall. You don't have temporary records at your residence for
I
maybe
guess,
4
no, I guess the working documents or whatever, like.
Well, the working
older
documents, we
documents or
don't
whatever.
want to have Wendy to come here to do her work.
Right.
So whatever records that she needs to do her daily work are not required to be in the vault or at the town
Okay,
hall.
that's fine,
That's the intent.
but I don't think the word permanent is,
Well, then you have to use a
is,
different word.
yeah, is not
Okay.
a good, is not
Okay.
an apt description.
What word?
Older, I don't know, what, or,
I guess maybe,
historical?
I'm trying to get you'd be working on records at home that are current. So current records
Well, it should be at the discretion of the town clerk,
at the town
because
clerk.
Right.
whatever
the
she
town
needs to
board
do her
is
job.
not the one who is responsible to ensure those records. It's the clerk's responsibility.
It should be at the
to
clerk's
ensure those.
discretion.
So the very first paragraph of this resolution is not correct.
Well, I need to have some stuff that isn't like up-to-date current. I go back like a year or something sometimes if somebody calls me up.
Right, and some of those records might be older than that, you should need to maintain year-to-year records.
I mean, I think once, like election stuff, once it's done, should, the rolls and that, if they're done, and the ballots that need to be kept, should come up here. But I have to keep some stuff that, so I can work on it, and I do SVRS.
Well, could you just say all, non-working documents? I mean, I don't know what else you'd call
No,
it.
non-working.
Yeah, non-working documents or
But
documents that
some
are historical or.
I mean, the only one who's
completed.
gonna know what documents they need is the clerk.
Right.
And that may change from clerk to clerk depending on what issues are coming up. And you may want some historical documents in your possession if there's an issue going on. And when that issue is resolved, those documents could come back up and be stored again. It's at the discretion of the clerk as to what records she needs and where she needs to store them. It's not the board's responsibility to be responsible for those documents. It is the clerk's responsibility to make sure those documents are kept.
Well, like I keep a minute book.
Yes.
I print
Well,
in the
minute
minute book, that's not always current, it's old. So you gotta be careful how you word that, because that technically then would, supposed to be up here. You know, and I don't have a printer here, I run it off my computer,
On your computer.
on my printer.
So it might be better just to say something that all current working documents in the custody, under the custody and control of the clerk would be at your house, subject to being backed up with a copy up here. It's really just, if your house burns down, all the records are gone.
I don't
So-
have a problem with this, I
It's just
just
the
have a
backup. I think
problem.
it's just, you have double entry.
Ed really wants me to be up here working.
No, I don't.
know that
I
was
want the
something
stuff
you
up here
said.
so we don't go through what we're going through with Kathy right now. That's what I don't want.
Exactly, we should have a post office box, goes along with the person. That's what I've tried to do, is just, so, this is sort of chaotic. It should just be able to transfer along,
That's why we have one town computer, so that can forward with the next
Right.
town clerk.
I mean, I don't really,
And we have the other computer up here we can use for backup.
Right. If it's
If
got a
it's
large, if it's
compatible.
compatible.
If it's
It's
old,
old,
right.
I don't know if it's compatible.
So,
You'd
no.
have to
oh,
have
I,
an IT person
actually,
look at
somebody
that.
said that wouldn't work for backup anyway.
You could just get,
Can you put it
like
on
a
a hard
smart
drive or
drive,
something?
like you get a,
Just store
like
it
a
on a
Seagate
disk.
hard drive,
Store it on
it's
something.
portable, you,
She told me to get one of those little portable hard
yeah,
drives and just
like you
leave
get
it
a
up here.
Seagate, and you just plug it in, you back it up, and then you keep it up here. And then if something happens, the computer crashes or whatever, it's up here, and you can just plug it in into a new computer and you're done.
The last thing I want to do is not have a backup on this computer. There's a lot of information on here. So, I mean, I would, she suggested, when I was talking to her, a little, those, I think they're $100, the hard drive. You put it on, you leave it up here, and then it's all separate.
And at least once a month, you go take it home and just back it up again.
Or bring the laptop up here.
Or bring it up.
Bring the laptop. Well, what do you recommend that
Well, that,
notice gets worded then?
That the resolution be worded, the whereas clauses are less important, it's more the resolution. Maybe that all records and data of the town of Glenora be kept in the town hall, except for records,
Except working records.
working records under the custody and control of the town clerk, which may be retained at her residence.
But some of them aren't working, they're historical too. The minute book is historical, it's not working.
Well,
And
you're
it's
using
working
it,
because
you
you
put
have to
minutes
put
in it every
minutes.
month, so
Yeah,
you need it
it's a
there.
working document.
It's a working document because you put the minutes in
And when
every
it's
month.
filled, it'll come up here.
Right.
Well, what about like keeping zoning for like 2 or 3 years at home, go through it?
One down, you bring it one down.
Does that all have to be?
I would keep zoning for a year.
Actually, on
That,
DVD
you
disc,
don't have
and
to-
copy them and bring it up here, file it, and it's meant to take it
I
back.
mean, that should be at your discretion.
Right.
You know what
You know what you
you know
need and what
who's
you
gonna
don't.
call. We don't know who's calling on issues if we need things. That's why our direction
Download it
to
on
you needs to
the
be
external
you
hard
can't
drive and
limit it.
leave it
So
up
why
here
Calls
and
and
say,
need something, you
I've
have to
had
come
a
here and
couple
get it.
people who
Keep
have
it.
called for stuff that was 2010, you know, from looking for zoning information.
It needs to be at your discretion what documents you have in your possession for working documents and what needs to be here.
You can look into getting that drive in for storage.
Sure, if I'm authorized.
I'll make a motion that you purchase a backup for the computer as recommended by the auditor.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded that the clerk purchase backup, what is it?
There's one that's
Portable
called a
hard.
Seagate,
Portable.
portable hard drive.
Portable hard drive?
Do you want to make that part of this resolution,
No, that's already in here. You don't have to make it part of the resolution for a purchase.
It's in there that we need the
Yeah.
storage, but this will authorize how it will be done. And she's authorized to give that. You want to read the resolution, Tom? You done? You have it done?
or? Right, so it would be now therefore be resolved that all records and data of the town of Palmyra be retained and stored at the town hall, comma, except current, comma, working documents under the custody and control of the town clerk at her home, comma, provided that all data on the town-owned computer be backed up monthly with the backup step to the town hall. So you insert this in after that, and then end it.
I do mine weekly or more often.
So are you making a motion to accept that?
Well, I need a motion to accept the resolution.
I'll make a motion to accept the resolution as Tom just read it.
Then it should be done more often.
It's been moved and seconded to vote or pass the resolution, keep records and backup of the records at the town hall. And the clerk has some discretion as to which records be stored and which she needs to work. So, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried. Okay, discussion and action. Resolution on how town bills are paid. There was discussion I had with the town auditor, and she thought the procedure for the town, the correct procedure was have all the bills approved and then signed after the meeting. And so we have a resolution to approve all the bills and then sign them after approval.
I'll make a motion to discuss the resolution.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to discuss the resolution on the bill pay procedure.
So I have a question. If you spoke with the auditor about it, then did you direct Supervisor Miller to draft the resolution?
No.
Then how did Supervisor Miller get this information from the auditor to draft this resolution?
I don't know if he got it from the auditor.
Can you tell me where you got the information from, and how did you get direction to do that?
I got it from the auditor. I was in contact with the auditor while she was doing the audit.
Okay. I have a concern about where this is coming from, or one of my concerns is miscommunication or lack of communication between the town board and the clerk. And I feel that if the town board members took appropriate communication with the town clerk, there would be less issues regarding the bills. There would be less issues regarding legal fees, money spent. There's a lot of overage of things that are being paid, things being paid twice, as we know the communication issue occurred. So I'm not in favor of the resolution, but once again, I'm not sure I'm prepared to discuss this since I wasn't given this ahead of time. I don't have the opportunity to look at 98.3.
I discussed this at length with the clerk about this procedure, and the clerk thought that it was a good idea to do it that way and be easier for the clerk and everyone else.
I don't think Deb's saying that part. I think she's saying that the resolution, that, you know, that she hasn't looked at it. The same. Yeah, I don't have, actually, I've had people say
Your
you
current bill should be
you
paid.
would probably have to wait for the approval of your board, so.
Larry, question, you're being treasurer with Blue Spring Lake. As you know, there's reoccurring bills, electric bill, telephone bill, that cannot wait till the board comes, that sometimes have to be paid before and you get them in between. Our policy is reoccurring boards are at the discretion of the clerk and brought up at the meeting. But if you're gonna wait for an electric bill that's due, and if you get 2 weeks before and it's due, it's impossible for her to do her job if she has to do all the bills at the monthly meeting.
Well, usually by the second Monday, usually if you pay all the bills by then, won't they be paid on time?
Well, some bills are, I don't know, our bills are paid different times, electric bill, telephone bill.
We got two different electric bills, so they have different time periods.
So, I mean,
some
recurring bills,
things are-
electric and gas, telephone, there's not much question to those. Your other bills that come in usually give you 30 days to pay, but those, you know, this is just a suggestion, is
I
reoccurring
think the
bills.
lawyer bills and all that should for sure be coming here, and you guys probably should go over them. And
I think there needs to be a definition of what's usual and customary. Because I agree, usual and customary bills should be paid, so that they're paid on time. But we need to define what's usual and customary.
utilities, I don't know. Did that,
I mean, things that come in on a regular monthly basis that need to be paid on time, that's usual and customary. Anything outside of that could be brought in front of the board for review and for approval.
okay, utilities and, payments for, social security and that, cause that doesn't always have time to come up.
It's usual and customary.
It's usual and customary.
I have a resolution from the board that was passed in 1998, and the past practice is to pay usual and customary as they come due. The town checks countersigned by the chairman. These bills include monthly bills for electricity, telephone, garbage pickup, bills for contracted services, bills submitted by elected officials for wages and duties performed, and refunds of tax payments in excess of taxable amounts. Any bills paid in this manner are reported at the monthly meetings of the town board, along with any bills that have been received and not yet paid, and with any bills that need the authorization of the town board to pay, such as those that would overdraw a budget account or for an amount not budgeted.
So why are we not using that one? That's already been one that's been passed and approved, and that's what's been
I guess-
policy.
Maybe we just have to
That
be
was
more clear on
1998.
what's usual and customary. I guess we could if this is, I'll take a look at that, Tom.
Must have been in the ordinance book.
Right, the definition here for usual and customary seems to be pretty broad, like bills for contracted services. Any of the, like snow plowing or attorney's fees, or those are contracted services. They would be considered usual and customary, and if you want to review those, then you should take that out of there. Bills submitted by elected officials for wages, those are usual and customary. Duties performed, that'd be like per diems and things. And refunds of tax payments in excess of tax bill amounts.
Yeah, that comes out of the tax account, that's where
Yes, yeah.
people overpay property taxes, they
Well,
get
and then if you're
refunded.
gonna go into the tax account with that statement, then you have to put about the settlements with the
This just
county.
says the general fund.
This is just the general fund, this doesn't have to do with the tax account.
Cause that comes out of the tax account, the refunds. That's for if their escrow overpays.
Okay, then there's the refund,
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. But that's pretty good, if you wanted to delete some of those, you could.
You just wanna, like, the roads and the attorney bills and some of the bigger items should be discussed, I think, and just not passed. That, I think that was the intent, that some of these bills get looked on, they get that, before they're signed, the amount is, and they get discussed. But like the usual and customary, I think they have it, it's covered in there pretty well. They're just the electric bills and contracted bills, but we could, talk about the.
Right, they're regular bills that are pretty much the same amount every time, they might vary by.
Well, I think like the electric bills and that have to be paid,
With the
Like,
utilities and things.
they have to be paid earlier in the month than,
Some of the other ones.
than after the board meeting,
Okay.
But I think some of the other bills should be discussed before the checks are signed.
Well, like contractors, when you contract with them, can't you tell them you will receive your check
Well,
after
here's the
such and
question.
such a date?
Wendy, you sign a check and Larry co-signs the check. If you wanna discuss it at the board meeting, don't co-sign the check or tell her to bring it to the board meeting and then that's a bill that we discuss.
That's what we should be doing, is paying those bills here.
If I can
Go ahead.
add
Go ahead.
some- Because I do work with two other town boards.
Okay?
And what they do, both those boards do, is at the end of the meeting, they pay the bills. And so it's the last thing on the agenda, and they all, look at the bills go around, or they have copies or whatever, and everybody looks at them, has any questions, discussion, that all happens then, and then they make a motion at the end of the meeting, at the end of that time period, they pass a motion to pay this check number through this check number for this amount, total money. And that's how I'm just giving you that as what I see other towns do.
I see the same thing, where they read them out and then they pass them around.
That's how the old board did it, and I thought that's how
That was
we should
the
do it.
intent of
That was the
this.
intent, is to do it the way the old board did it, that's all.
So we pay the electric and the bills that have to, and then all the contractors and that come here. Is that what you're
Right,
saying?
they can all just be
Yeah.
approved and read either at the beginning or end of the meeting, or whatever's your pleasure.
I don't know if we have to have a resolution to do that.
98.3 is-
We have a resolution. Unless you want to amend it
Well, I
to
can-
approve, but I agree with that the bill should be discussed.
So I take out the contract.
The way the resolution is written is very acceptable. If you're concerned, put a cap on it, like you would in a corporation. They'll put a cap of a certain dollar amount, and then you bring them up at the meeting.
We direct the clerk to pay only the usual and customary bills and bring the other ones here and don't sign any other checks that have to do with any of the bills that you want discussed here. It's
That's
pretty
right.
simple.
Pretty easy.
And the garbage pickup's automatically taken out of, so you guys don't have, that's all
It's a
automatic.
usual and
with the-
customary bill, though, it's like a utility.
You wanna just keep this, or what?
What do you think, Tom? Should we just keep, work off of this?
Well, you could, amend it somewhat, because the actual resolution says, the Township of Palmyra intends to continue paying its bills in a timely and orderly manner, and authorizes the duly elected clerk treasurer to continue to pay usual and customary bills with township checks countersigned by the town chairman, as has been done in the past. The newer one said that the clerk treasurer of the town of Palmyra shall present all bills that are tendered in checks from the general fund to the town board at the monthly meeting. All bills must be reviewed and approved by the majority vote of the town supervisors before the bill is paid. We want to amend it by just including something similar to that as the second paragraph.
I just would just like to review, you know, have a review of the bigger bills as well, before they're signed.
So we just need to define usual and customary and add it to the new resolution.
Right, so
Change
take out
that a little
bills for
bit.
contracted services here, take out, well, wages and salaries would still be usual and customary, and the tax refund, well, that's a different account.
I can take that out.
So just remove the, so you'd amend it by removing contracted services and put them down in the other category. I don't remember that here.
Should we just amend it? We'll just amend this then.
Amend 983
So,
with whatever this resolution is. And not repeal it, like it says in the second.
I think we should hold a vote until that's documented so that we have it exactly the way we want it to be done before it's approved in case it's not correct.
Do you want to do that now or next meeting? Or
Next meeting.
Okay.
So put it on the agenda for next meeting to approve it once it's completely drafted as we want it. And if Wendy sends it to all of the town board members, if there's something we see that we want changed, we can change it, send it back to her, and then she can have it ready for the next board meeting to approve.
Do you want me to review that at the end and we've all had a chance to put it on it or not?
I think all we gotta do is just amend it to put the contracted services are not usual and customary, basically. It's just that,
Right, remove that.
just remove contracted services.
Do you want me to remove about the overpayment of taxes?
No,
Take
just
take that
contract.
out because that comes from the tax account, so that doesn't need to be in that new resolution.
All you have to take out is contracted services. That's all. Just amend it that the contracted services be approved. Everything. And I think bills that, like electric bills that have to be paid can be paid sooner, but all the bills that don't have to be paid should be paid, signed after the town board. Just the ones that have to be paid before the board meets, if there are any. Okay, so we'll do that next meeting, or do you want to just,
Let's do it at the next meeting. So we
And
can
put
see
for
it
April.
before we.
okay. Old business procedure ordinance.
I'll make a motion to discuss the procedure ordinance. And one, yeah,
You didn't cover the hangar fee rental increase in the new business.
No, that's not on.
Okay, it's on this agenda.
The
Oh, it's not on-
hangar,
Okay, there was an amendment.
the hangar fees aren't,
Okay.
they can't be raised till the end of the year, so we're not going to discuss that. It's
Sorry.
not on the agenda.
Is there a second? Motion.
To,
to discuss the procedure ordinance.
want to discuss the procedure ordinance?
Yes, briefly. Can you second it?
I'll second.
Okay. I want to first start by saying I'm a little confused on the procedure ordinance because what we asked Attorney Levi to do and what we actually had discussion on last time were two different things. What we asked for was to take our 18-page document, briefly look at it, briefly have you give us your opinion, and condense it, and somehow we ended up with a 50-page document. and that wasn't what we asked for. So I don't think we want to go over that procedure ordinance at this point, because it's not exactly what we asked for and not exactly what we needed. So I reviewed the bills, and you had spent almost 14 hours to date on this, and I'd like to ask you if you'd be willing to reduce your hours, since that's not exactly what we asked for to begin with. I think what we all were hesitant on when we asked you to review the document is we didn't want an 18-page document, we wanted a condensed document. We didn't want something that was larger than what that document was. And we already have ordinances for ethics, which I think is exactly what the 50-page document is. So unless somebody else wants to disagree with me, that's what I have to say about that.
Well, actually, for ordinances, there's a whole section from the class we went last year. That for as far as ethics. I pulled out this book and it's all in here, I just got it, there it is. Ethics and conflict of interest.
What the
local
intent
officials,
was
all
on the
that.
procedure ordinance was a working document that this board and the future boards could use for how the procedures of the board works, or how the procedures of our town works. Who do we contact for this? Who does that? What does this? Not all of the ordinance things. It was more to be a working document of who has the right to call the attorney and when. Who calls this person for that? That is what the ordinance was supposed to be. But somehow we got really beyond all of that, and I'm not exactly sure how that confusion happened, but.
Sure. I guess to respond to that, at the time I was tasked with that, and you presented the document in December that you drafted, I asked for the ordinance book, and the ordinance book was not able to be located. It has since been located. I think it's, I still don't have it, I want to pick it up tonight, just to see what is in that book. There are apparently 3 different books going back to 1971.
Oh,
They do
there's
have one.
1 to 18 something.
Well, they have some old books.
I have the book all the time, I didn't know you were looking for that. There, and then I found
But
another
what we
one.
specifically asked for was a short opinion. Specifically, I said, please do not spend a lot of time on this. And 14 hours to me is a lot of time.
It
And
was.
if we
It was a lot
didn't
of
have
work.
the ordinance book, and you needed the ordinance, then maybe you should have, in my opinion, you should have come back to the board and said, we don't have an ordinance book, it's my recommendation that we do something with an ordinance book, and then the town board could have voted on saying, yes, we want you to do that work, or no, we don't. But we really, as a board, weren't given that option. And I understand it's necessary, but had we had this discussion, then as, Eddie went to the library and found ordinances and other things were found, that work could have all been done, which would have saved you time and effort and the
Right.
town a lot of money. So again, it's just another miscommunication that this board has, because people don't communicate properly on this board.
I didn't know we were redoing an ordinance board. I mean, a whole ordinance. I thought we did a procedural, how we run the meetings, who's
That's
responsible.
what my intent was.
That was my
I
impression.
expanded that somewhat, but I
Yes.
also put things in there that would be in a normal ordinance book. That was starting from scratch, more or less. I guess it's a little confusing to me as to what, if you want to go to the WTA, they're a great resource, and I recommend that. If you want to use my services more sparingly, that's fine. I've got plenty of work to do. I respond to the request from the board, and I'm quite willing to do whatever you want in that regard. If you want to use more of the WTA, that's fine. They will not draft an ordinance for you. They will give you some of their stock ordinances that they have, and they have a lot of them, and they're online. And they are good resources, as I said. But they're not going to answer very specific questions like was responded to tonight with the lady with the fire department funds. Those are specific legal opinions that are rendered by the local attorney.
Well, and I think there's places for specific attorney duties like that, but then we have a lot of resources that we could utilize that would save the town a lot of money. I mean, we are up to almost $8,000 already in your attorney fees for this year. We're at over 30, almost 30,000 from last year, not including the annexation. And so now that's putting us into being over budget from last year. So we have to get a handle on the legal fees. And this was just a mishap that had we all communicated better, we would not have had to spend almost $3,000 on something that we didn't really intend to do in the first place the way it was. Or we could have had the choice to make it that way if we felt we needed to as a board, and I just feel like we didn't have that opportunity because there wasn't a discussion on it prior to you doing the work on it.
Then I guess what I would suggest is that, and I can develop a form, work order, you give me a work order and you specify in writing exactly what you want me to do. And I'll do it. And then we all have a document that we've agreed upon that this is what you want me to do. And then I will do that and submit it to you. And the work order would just be, you know, if everything has by work order, that's fine.
Okay, we have half of that or most of that document done. I think what we should do from here on in is we each take a copy that we go through what hasn't been reviewed, make our suggestions on it, and come up with a document that you can just edit.
Right, I have all the changes that are made up to, town attorney is the next
Right.
item where we stop.
Right.
The next item, on page 14. But, and I did put in there about asking the WTA first to address the issue. But, if you want to go with the WTA first, that's fine. I guess I would only ask there that if you do come to me, you tell me what they told you, so I'm just brought up to speed on that. And then do everything else by a work order, unless there's, I guess there are opinions that are requested that arise because of citizen requests a lot, or public records requests, or
Well, I think
contacts from
my
public.
opinion is that the only time you should be directed to do work by the town board is if the chairman approves it. I don't think that Eddie or I should be coming to you with individual things without having an approval from the chairman. And I know we're a three-man board, but we could very easily tell the clerk we want to talk to the attorney about X. We could write a document to the clerk about what we want. She could give it to the chair, and the chair could say yes or no, you can talk to the attorney or not, or you need to go to the WTA. There's gotta be some way we put a cap on this, because as much as I like you, and I like talking to you, it costs the town a ton of money, and it doesn't need to happen. And sometimes we call for things that we don't need to call you for, that we could call the WTA for, or we could talk to somebody else about, and it's costing the taxpayers and ourselves a lot of money. And there needs to be a cap on it.
I think it's in that directive that the chairman gets,
Right.
has the authority, that's in the new regulation.
I haven't seen the new regulation.
Well, we went through it at the last meeting.
I didn't have that copy. I had an 18-page
But
document. I
we-
didn't have the 50.
Tom
No, I
sent it to
emailed
all of
it
us.
to you.
No,
Tom sent it to all of us.
Emailed it to me.
I
I
think
emailed it to all of you.
it was confusing because there was an 18-page
But
and
that
a
was
50-page.
covered in there, that's how,
And-
there's a procedure for that now, okay? And so what I'm gonna suggest is we don't go through this tonight, that we each get a copy of this. How many pages are left to review? I mean, the changes are already made on probably 2/3 of that document, and I think some of the things that are left we already have ordinance for it, and I think I'll correct?
Right, so we're on page 14, there are 50 pages, but some of those are the alcohol beverage
Right,
control ordinance.
right.
Which there's already one in.
I think most of the things that we needed to address have been addressed already. All of it's already done. I think we'll formulate the balance of it and just have you edit it.
Okay, that's fine. And I think building inspector, there's something in here on
Correct.
that,
Just-
but there is a
Right.
ordinance that I think Ed discovered at the village library. There was an ordinance book there, and a copy of those, I do have those.
So
So,
Wendy will give you
okay.
the owner, you can just take it and review it, but we will, actually, I'll probably need the ordinance book, because I'll compare with what's in there to what we have,
Okay.
and then we'll come up with
I'll
something
just
for
wait
you.
to get it then until after.
There's
We'll
a
give you
couple
something to
ordinance
review.
books.
Because then, Ed has a copy, you can download a copy, and then from page 14 on, we will do the rest of the revisions. And you'll edit them.
I had brought in for Nona, 2 of them, and now I found, when I was looking for the voting log,
Mhm.
I found another one back there in the room. So I think there's more than,
Oh, it's more, it's going back a number of years. If they should be numbered, they should be in sequence and then retained. So that they're there. But that's fine, I can, and did you get one?
That should be there.
Did you get it?
Can you resend me it?
I can resend
I'm
it,
not sure
but-
that I have it.
What I can do is resend the first 14 pages that we discussed, where I have my changes.
I can forward the whole document.
You can
The
forward
computer
it?
is down until Wednesday, but
Okay.
I can just forward it. I'll forward it to
Thank
her.
you.
Okay. But I originally sent them to all four of you. Just take it. I sent I have the email.
I'll just forward it.
well, I mistakenly copied the 18-page, because that's what I thought we were doing, not a 50-page one,
The
so.
the 18
That's what I
page was
brought
just-
to them the other, so Dr. Newton and
Larry.
he, sorry, had, well, Deb and Larry, they had, the 18-page, and I think Eddie was the only one who had the 50-page. So, I think that's what happened. I guess I wasn't in my mind looking at the 50-page. I thought that was all just, to back up what you had changed.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, so,
In the 18-page ordinance that you originally drafted, I went through and told you where it was cross-referenced in the 50-page document, which ones were adopted. And I brought them in almost verbatim in most cases, unless I said otherwise in my comments. So there are comments there on all of them.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it. All in favor?